9. This is the last part for this session. We'll continue tomorrow, part 10 and following. I hear this all the time. It's too big a conspiracy. There's how many organizations that are space organizations? How many people work for these people? No, too big a secret. Nobody can keep that secret. Too big a conspiracy. Really? And what's the motivation if it is? I'm going to challenge that. Is it really too big a conspiracy? I don't think so. Compartmentalization alone refutes that idea. If you've ever been in the military or anything, you understand how compartmentalization works. How many of you know the private has no idea what the general knows? And there are a whole lot of people in between that have various, privy to various information that others don't have. Look into the Manhattan Project. Look how many people were involved with the Manhattan Project, how much money was involved with that. The guy in the room next door didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know what he was doing, if you were working on that project. The Vice President of the United States didn't even know what was going on with that. That's a really good example of lots of people working on a project with lots of money and nobody having a clue what the other person knows. So no, they wouldn't have to all be in on it. Because that's one thing I hear. Well, the teachers have to be on it, and this guy had to be, every airline pilot. No, most of these people have no idea. The mechanic doesn't know what the king knows. And if you really want to dive deep into how various nations could easily be in on it, because they're like, what about the Russians? Surely they would expose us, or the Chinese, or whoever. Look, I just recommend checking out books like these right here. Conspirators' Hierarchy, The Story of the Committee of 300, or Behold a Pale Horse. There's some great books out there. Learn about organizations like the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Jesuits, the Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg meetings, Bohemian Grove, Committee of 300, Council of 13. And this is just the tip of an iceberg of a very big control system. Once you realize how big this iceberg is, you realize this is a massive beast system of control. And that all our media, all the media that we have in this country is owned by 6, I would just go ahead and speculate, probably Luciferian-run corporations. So if all of our media, our print media, our radio media, our television media, everything that we get for information is controlled by 6 organizations, how many of you realize, can you now see how easy it is to control that narrative? Put a picture in a textbook. Make a statement in a textbook. Put a kid in public school with a globe in the corner. Kid has no reason to question the person in the front of the room. He's put there by his parents, presumably he trusts. Parents put him in this room, so that must be a trustworthy guy or gal, that woman, at the front. So I'm going to believe him. That's pretty easy. Control the narrative, control the media. What government is trustworthy? Can you name any other than the kingdom of Yah? I can't think of any. Governments are full of conspiracies. The military answers to its government. When it comes to people who've been to space, there's been something like 550 human beings in the entire world who have allegedly been to space. The majority of them are Americans. And of the 375 Americans, 216 of them served our country in one capacity or another in the military. Look, how many of you know military, we're trained to keep secrets. From the lowest level, or private. Right? Then they have different secret clearances and stuff that you'd have depending on what your job description is and stuff like that. Your job is to guard the nation's secrets, right? So, yeah, no problem there. Military guards secrets. Space programs answer to their governments, which we just established are not trustworthy. All nations who signed the Antarctic Treaty are suspect. I don't have time to get into that here. You'll have to watch some of my other videos and other videos online about that. Secret societies, well, yeah, they keep secrets. Go figure. So you have 200 and something of the 300 something astronauts are in the military trained to keep secrets, and many of those within those numbers are Freemasons who keep secrets. Most are just doing their job and they have no reason to question it. They build stuff. They read data on computer screens.
NASA is all about imagination, about the awe of space and getting people involved in that. George A. Keyworth was the science advisor to Ronald Reagan. He said to Congress in 1985, all government agencies lie part of the time, but NASA is the only one I've ever encountered that does so routinely. Okay? How about this quote I found from a Los Angeles Times 1987 article or something like that, the middle quotation there, he says, all of the organizations that I have dealt with, the only one that lied is NASA. Science advisor Keyworth said today. The reason they lie, of course, is because they are wrapped up in a higher calling. Can you believe that? In their eyes, these are white lies. They tell lies in order to do what has to be done, because in the end, the result will be for the betterment of the public. So they are not really lying from evil, but nevertheless, they're lying. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. One of the things I found recently is this article. I don't know if you guys have ever heard, there's some scientist named Grimes that did some report on how long it would take for a hoax as big as the moon landings to come out. And he basically said, and this is what you'll see everywhere, is that within 5 years, the moon landings would have been exposed. Okay? So I've heard that said over and over again, and people on Globe Believer channels will always say that. And I said, well, let me go look at this article really carefully and see, is that really what he says? So you look at the article, and he says that for a plot to last for 5 years, that all of NASA, when he said that it would last only 4 years, he was saying that all of NASA was in on it. Well, not one of us believes that. Not one person believes that everybody at NASA was involved in the moon hoax. So I started to say, well, did the numbers change? Well, he keeps going down. He says for any plot to last 5 years, only 2,500 people would have to be on the conspiracy. For it to last more than 10 years, you have to have fewer than 1,000 people in on the conspiracy. And for it to last 100 years, you have to have less than 125 collaborators. Well, that's exactly what we're saying. We're saying that only the astronauts and very few people knew. How do we know that? What about all those guys, Jaron, sitting at the consoles? Didn't they know what was going on? Wouldn't they know? They're sitting looking at data. Well, how about Apollo Flight Commander Gene Kranz, who told us in the late 60s our simulation technology had progressed to the point where it became virtually impossible to separate the training from actual missions. The simulations became full dress rehearsals for the missions down to the smallest detail. It tested out the crews and controllers' responses to normal and emergency evacuations, checked out the exact flight plan and procedures, and it says down at the bottom quote there, the simulations were so real that no controller, so nobody sitting at any console or any computer, could discern the difference between the training and the real mission. So then you have to start looking at the NASA missions, and you say, is there anything else that leads me to believe that possibly there was some chicanery going on? How about the fact that they never plugged the live feed into the news agencies? They said, oh, you want to see the moon landing? Come to our facility, and you can film it off of a TV screen. So you have one input coming from who knows where, and you've got all the media who are actually standing there with video cameras filming off of a screen. That's what we got for the moon landings. So there's nobody, so yeah, based on this guy Grimes' study, if there was less than 125 people who knew about the moon landing conspiracy, it could last 100 years. So unfortunately, we probably got another 50 years that we're going to have to deal with that lie.
They lose track over the Indian Ocean. So they build stuff, they put it on this vehicle, they launch it up into the sky, and if you do like a time lapse of these launches, you'll see a very profound arc. Doesn't look like they're going up into space. They go whoop, like that. But they saw the device that they just built get put on that thing and go up. And then NASA loses contact with everything they send up over the Indian Ocean.
Orion's journey is just beginning. As the spacecraft and the upper stage begin their first lap around Earth, Mission Control in Houston is monitoring the progress of the flight. Orion's over 100 miles up and going about 17,000 miles per hour. Just as it passes over the Indian Ocean, we lose communication. This is expected. The communications link we have through satellites to Orion is momentarily lost.
That's convenient. Look that up.
The simulations were so real that no controller, so nobody sitting at any console or any computer, could discern the difference between the training and the real mission.
But they can contact Mars. We've got a remote control doom buggy on Mars. I could barely get cell phone reception in here. You believe some knucklehead sitting there with a Nintendo moving a little doom buggy on Mars? Really? You believe that? I used to believe it, I'll admit it. Yeah, I believed it. Now I think it's completely ridiculous. Look into Devon Island, if you really want to go down a rabbit hole and see where Mars is. Devon Island, look into that.
I
saw a video that Jaronism put out. He basically found Mars right here on Earth on Devon Island, which is just off to the west of Greenland. He was saying that it was Greenland, but it's not actually on Greenland. It's Devon Island. And I did some poking around on there too. I wanted to check it out for myself. And actually, as I was looking around, I actually saw a picture. It said the Houghton crater, Haughton crater, Mars on Earth, Devon Island. And, you know, you look at these places and just imagine zooming in on these places and putting a red filter on it. And what do you know? You're on Mars, you know. He found these images right here that are, if you want to check them out, you can go on Google Earth and check it out for yourself. Just make sure you're in the gallery layers. You select Gigapan photos, and then you'll see these icons show up right here. And so if you click on these Gigapan images, I mean, just even without doing that, this looks like the surface of a weird planet. You know, let's say Mars. You know, just turn it all red and it looks just like Mars. But if you click on these things, you get these panoramic views. It'll zoom in for you right into Google Earth and then show you these panoramas. And they are really interesting. Now, again, just all we have to do is imagine a red filter on this, and you're looking out over Mars. But this is actually an island of Canada where NASA has set up some experiments, and you'll see right here on their truck it says Mars Project. So this is the Mars Project in the Arctic. Bunch of ATVs and stuff like that, and you kind of look around, and what do you see? You see a rover. Now this isn't the same one that's on Mars, but it's one awfully close to it, very similar, and it's tooling around in a landscape that looks very much like it could be a Martian landscape, just change the color. And let's look at a few other ones that he pointed out. Just zoom out so you can see the other ones over here. You got this one here. This is Arctic Camp. And sure enough, in the Arctic camp, you can see that they've been here for a while, looks like. And they've got all kinds of antenna equipment and stuff like that for communications, I would presume. There's a NASA truck again, Mars Project. You know, I mean, this landscape out here looks an awful lot like Mars. Now, this back here, I believe, is for training purposes. The astronauts can set up shop in there and simulate living in Martian conditions, I guess. So fair enough. You know, this is a good training ground, but it also could be a really excellent set for more than just training. It could be for deceiving. I mean, Stanley Kubrick would be proud to have a set like this. I mean, he would have been really jazzed, I think. Imagine what he could have done with, you know, a shot like this for a Mars landscape, right? A practical set. We'll look at the one more here. This one right here. And, you know, here we go.
Nice Martian landscape once again. And here's our little rover guy. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Looks like a different one, maybe. Tooling around in the Martian landscape. So, I mean, it's this sort of thing that, okay, it could be innocent. Sure, could be. Maybe this is just, all for training purposes, trying to simulate a similar environment and cold temperatures and stuff like that. I get it. But then again, it could. I mean, it is at least plausible for them to be using a place just like this. And there are a whole lot of images. You just do, fake Mars images or fake Mars pics or whatever on a Google search. And you'll see a lot of people out there are really taking a look at the Mars pics and showing that they very well could have originated right here on Earth just with a red filter on it.
Oh, and by the way, Mars just so happens to look exactly like some of the places here on Earth. Imagine the coincidence. It's incredible. It's a little more red. Oh, and by the way, they got rodents up there too. Wow. Imagine the coincidence. How cool is that? There's life on Mars. Squirrels. No, they're up in Devon Island. You can go look this up on Google Earth for yourself. Why do we have to go to Devon Island to test? It's just a little dune buggy going around on dirt and rocks. We got plenty of dirt and rocks right here. Why do we got to go to Devon Island? Oh, because it's cold. You could put it in an ice box and still simulate cold if you want to see if it can handle the cold. No, they're going to Devon Island because nobody else is up there, and it just so happens to look like what we think Mars looks like. Unbelievable. Oh, but Elon Musk. First of all, how many of you have ever heard the name Elon before you heard of Elon Musk? Anybody? A college by the name of Elon. Interesting. I'd never heard the name Elon before I heard of Elon Musk. How interesting, though, that Wernher von Braun, Captain Nazi NASA guy himself, right, wrote a fiction novel, I think it was in the late 1950s, about a colony on Mars. It just so happened to be led by a guy named Elon. Oh, imagine the coincidence. Oh, but now we've got a Tesla on the way. Did you hear about that? He shot up a car, supposedly. And he himself said, it's got to be real because it looks so fake.
What was going through your mind? How amazed were you to see your roadster up there with Starman just cruising along with the blue planet? And how long will we be getting live views, do you think, from the car?
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Because it did look fake. A whole lot of people, look, they got a Tesla flying around the Earth. It just made a pass around the sun, from what I heard. It's on the way to Mars, I guess.
Okay, but now here's something else that's really interesting. Look at this car. Look at the tires. Look at the plastic and the leather and other things. Listen to this.
But we didn't really test any of those materials for, is it space hardened or whatever, So it just has the same seats that a normal car has. It's just literally a normal car in space, which I kind of like the absurdity of that.
Yeah, it is quite absurd. Now, I went to the Contact in the Desert conference earlier this year, and this individual here, David Adair, claims to be a materials specialist working for NASA, allegedly testing various materials before they put it on objects that are supposed to be sent out into space. All right, now listen to what he has to say about testing these materials.
In the material sciences, in that environment, it's not friendly out there, y'all. It's 225, 250 degrees below zero on the shadow side, 250 above on the sun side. So right through the meridian line, you got a 500-degree difference. It's a total vacuum. There's ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, infrared, all unfiltered by the atmosphere. It just burns things up when they hit it. Some of our materials just absolutely disintegrated. They were gone. We just had a blank where we put the piece of material.
Okay, so if this guy's testimony is true, then he just completely debunked this. I mean, look at the rubber on the tires. You know, the tires aren't exploding, the rubber's not disintegrating, any plastic on there is not, frying, and it's spinning. So it's going 500 degree temperature range from 250 plus to negative 250 plus as it's in direct sunlight and then, spinning out of direct sunlight. And yet the glass is fine, the plastic's fine, the rubber's fine, the leather's fine, everything's okay. It's just a regular car that Elon Musk himself said basically just pulled right off the lot and supposedly shot it up into space. So yeah, I agree with Elon. It does look fake, and the whole thing is completely absurd, and I think anybody who believes this is actually real probably needs to have their head examined.
We'll believe anything nowadays. Oh, by the way, they found the Star Trek symbol on Mars, too. Did you know that? Oh, this is real. CNN right there. A couple months ago, June 13th. We found the Star Trek symbol. Starfleet's been there already. Wow. Not only did they find one, they just found a whole bunch of them. Look at this whole fleet of Star Trek symbols. Just so happened to be on Mars. You know what? They're punking you. They're laughing at you. Just as they were laughing at me just a few years ago when I bought all this garbage. The conspiracy of cosmology is no bigger than that of evolution. So if you can accept that evolution is a lie, and you can get behind the Kent Hovens of the world, and again, I think these guys are doing great work. Is everybody in on the conspiracy of evolution? Or are most people just deceived and they're parroting what somebody else who was also deceived told them? I submit to you that the science of cosmology is no different than the science of biology in terms of how they're deceiving us and who have to be in on it. Very few people would have to be in on it. And just put it in a textbook, and no one questions it. When Sheila and I had our 10th anniversary, it was my sister's and brother-in-law's 20th anniversary, and it was my parents' 50th. So our whole family had some big numbers right there. My mom's like, we should all do something. So we went on a big family cruise to Hawaii, and we did some excursions and stuff, and we were doing some snorkeling. And I'm swimming, and we're looking at the different fish and coral and all kinds of stuff, and had a great time. Get on the boat, ride back. And the tour guide that took us out there, she's going through all the various fish that we saw in the plant life and coral and whatnot. And she's talking all in evolutionary terms. And was very eloquent. And when we got to the dock, the couple that was in front of us as we were getting off the boat said, that was a great presentation. That was really wonderful. And this young girl, probably in her 20s, said, thank you so much. I was just glad that I was finally able to put my degree to good use. And I thought about that. I'm like, she's innocent. She went to school, listened to somebody that she thought was trustworthy, parroted what they said with passion and zeal and conviction. Right? Was she in on the conspiracy of evolution? No. No more than the guy that's building a satellite that gets put on a thing that goes like this off the launch pad. There wouldn't have to be a whole lot of people in on it, so to speak. So what is the motivation? What's the motivation here? I think this billboard says a lot. This billboard, in science we trust, Freedom from Religion Foundation. And scientism, make no mistake, scientism, I believe real science, again, confirms Scripture. I'm talking about science falsely so-called, that is in and of itself a religion known as scientism, and they have their prophets. I made this little meme right here because I listened to what these guys say, and I'm like, why does anybody believe anything that they say? I got Einstein saying, I draw on chalkboards. Wow, dude, cool. Neil deGrasse Tyson said that when it comes to understanding the universe, we are 96% stupid. Now, he's supposed to be in the top tier of intellectuals in this country, and he admits that when it comes to cosmology, they are 96% stupid. Got the video clip of him saying it. Carl Sagan, who I've made fun of a few times, billions and billions of years ago, said that we evolved from microbes and muck, and apes are our cousins. We think we're so smart, right? We think we're so smart that we came from a microscopic dot that exploded right? And spun off and somehow congealed into fireballs that also exploded and sent space dust, stardust everywhere, that we are composed of stardust, apparently, right? And planets cooled around them into molten lava that somehow managed to pop out life. Life evolved not just from monkeys. You know, they say the humans evolved from monkeys, but you take it further back, and the first life form evolved out of molten lava. You believe, Ken Hovind puts him on the spot. He says, wait a minute, you believe we evolved from a rock? Because that's what they believe. And that we evolved from goo to you by way of the zoo to the point now where we don't even know how many genders there are. I'm a monkey and I don't know what gender I am. Really? Right? Are you guys seeing the news? Thousands of years, right? You know, parents have babies. They hold it up, got something between the legs, right? It's a boy! Now we can't figure it out for some reason. Whatever. You know, we got this other guy, you know, Lawrence Krauss. We are all stardust. And the stardust in your right hand is probably from a different star than the one in your left hand. Okay, dude. You know, we got this, I forget his name now. Hawking, Stephen Hawking. I'm like, do you even know? How do you know I really said that? How do you know he really said that? His computer's talking, but how do you know he said it? You got Dawkins. Well, nobody knows how it happens, but we believe it. You know, he believes it's fact, but you pin him down to, how many of you guys saw Expelled? Have you guys seen if you haven't seen the documentary Expelled, you have to watch it and see how completely intellectually bankrupt these people are.